This is a lacrosse shot. Being able to shoot the ball hard and accurately in lacrosse is one of the most important skills, as a game cannot be won without goals being scored. Here are the 6 key parts of a lacrosse shot. We have the bottom hand, bottom arm, top arm, lead leg, and drive leg. The approach phase will begin when the player takes a step or several towards the goal. The approach phase will end when the player decreases lower extremity velocity and the drive leg, in this case the left leg, is planted. The drive leg will perform forceful hip extension, knee extension, and ankle plantar flexion during the shot to exert force upward in order to push the player forward. The crankback phase will consist of preparatory movements for the angular motion that will be seen in the next phase, stick acceleration. The crankback phase begins when the drive leg plants into the ground and will end when the top arm is in between the bottom arm and the head of the stick, attaining maximum elbow flexion. The stick acceleration phase is the shortest phase. It begins when the elbow of the top arm is at maximum flexion. From here, rapid extension of the elbow and forward propulsion of the stick will occur. The trunk will quickly transition from a backward rotation and extension position to a forward rotation and the flexion position. The rapid change of positioning will propel the head of the stick in the direction of the goal. The stick acceleration phase ends when the ball is released. The stick deceleration phase will begin when the ball is released from the pocket of the stick. Depending on the type of shot taken, either sidearm, overhand, or underhand, the phase will vary. This phase will end when the top elbow reaches maximum extension. The follow-through phase will begin when the top arm reaches maximum elbow extension. As the body decelerates the upper extremities, the trunk will begin to rotate. The phase will end, which completes the trunk rotation. The recovery phase begins with the termination of trunk rotation, and the movements during this phase will vary depending on the task the player needs to accomplish next, either retrieving a loose ball, getting back on defense, or celebrating with teammates after scoring. There is no specific movement that concludes this phase, but it is generalized as to when the player stands back upright and the shot is fully completed. Feedback that I would offer anyone trying to attempt a lacrosse shot would be to keep the head of your stick pointing to your target when you follow through. This will allow the ball to release at the right moment, being more accurate. I would also advise beginner players to stick to an overhand shot. This is the most basic, easiest to learn, and is the most accurate. As they progress, they can learn a sidearm shot, most of the time the hardest, and an underhand shot, which tends to be very inaccurate, but is best used in certain situations like being close to the crease. This is an example of a sidearm shot. Sidearm shots tend to be much faster, as they are able to generate more power than an overhand shot. However, they are less accurate. This is why it's common in field lacrosse to see a sidearm, because this game has a much larger net, and it is less common to see it in a box lacrosse game, as the nets are smaller. Look familiar? A baseball swing and lacrosse shot are surprisingly very similar. Both a baseball player and a lacrosse player have to generate enough power in their core and legs to have a driving force hit or shoot the ball. The transferability between the sports is evident by the leading leg being planted, the hips twisting, and the ankle rotating. There are 5 biomechanical principles evident in a lacrosse shot. The first one is stability. The second, production of maximum force. The third, sequencing of joint rotation. The fourth, the impulse-momentum relationship. And the fifth, the effect of a force acting at some distance from an axis. When taking a shot, it's important that the player gets low to the ground. Oftentimes there are defenders attacking them, attempting to body check them, or cross-checking them to throw the player off balance and make the shot miss the net. When players plant both feet on the ground and bend their knees, they bring their body closer to the ground to offer more stability when taking the shot. When taking a lacrosse shot, the player doesn't simply shoot with their arms. Rather, they use their entire body, hips, knees, ankles, shoulders, and wrists in order to achieve a harder shot. When a player takes a lacrosse shot, the first thing they do is take a big step, turn their shoulders, and twist their hips, using the largest joints first. Then the player turns their wrists and ankles to continue the shot, using the smallest joints last, achieving maximum velocity. When a lacrosse player takes a shot, they don't do so by just standing still and shooting the ball. This is where the approach plays a factor in the speed of the shot. Taking multiple quick steps would result in a greater implied impulse and therefore an increase in velocity compared to a player that stands still and takes the shot. When the stick is pivoted through the player's top hand during a shot, it creates a force in both the top and bottom hands, generating a large amount of torque that can be used to shoot the ball faster. As shown by the table, as a player gains more experience with how the phases, anatomy, and biomechanics play a role in their shot, the speeds of the shot will increase. This concludes the properties of a lacrosse shot. Thanks for watching!